Hey everyone, I'm Patrick Rains. You can call me PJ. Welcome to Environment Sketching for Production. I'm a full-time concept artist in the game industry right now. I've also worked as a visual development artist in the animation industry. I am excited to share my knowledge about being a professional, and hopefully you will all create some great work in this class towards that end, and feel free to ask questions about reaching your personal goals as an artist, whether it's in games or animation or in some other avenue. But a lot of what we're talking about with these environments is just basic storytelling, and I think that could apply to many avenues. We're going to be focusing mostly with these talks and with the content I'm sharing about how it applies to the animation pipeline. But the artistic principles would carry over into other avenues of illustration as well. So I think there'll be something for everybody. Really excited about teaching it. On a high level, I want to share some of the class goals for what this class is going to be all about. We're going to learn to create environment art for a production pipeline. Developing personal processes of thumbnail sketching through final rendering. I have my own processes of creating art using reference that I collect through a thumbnail sketch, rough thumbnail sketching. I'll clean that up and make it like a final layout drawing, and then I'll apply a tonal to that to get the lighting working. That'll be a black and white pass. And then I'll do color on top of that to make it a final rendering. So we're going to explore those different steps through my methods, and I want each of you to think about how it would apply to your process and hopefully incorporate it in your own way that you feel is best. And I think it'll be very helpful for everyone. We're going to develop skills in storytelling mainly. Like I said earlier, it's not just learning the basic tools for what it takes to be a good concept artist and an illustrator, meaning drawing and painting, but also conceptually what you're doing with the art. That's what separates a vis dev artist or a concept artist from just a regular illustrator, because we're not just copying things, we're interpreting something in text, like in a script or some other description, and we're putting that into a medium that's it's going to tell a story, it's going to solve a problem for what the project needs. And then we're going to practice these kind of 3 pillars of design that I like to focus on. Those would be drawing, lighting, like doing a tonal, and mood, which is color. Those are the high-level goals for what I'm going to be teaching in this class. So class assignments, meaning what you'll take away from the class. Upon completing the class, you'll take away the following: collection of environment design photo reference. With each of the assignments, I'll ask you to look around in the web or in a book or something and find a lot of photo reference from things in the real world that you think would apply to your chosen story. And that's going to get your the wheels turning in your mind, thinking about how things what exists, what they look like, how they're built, and so on, and translating that into a stylized medium in your own personal work. But having a collection of photo references is going to build up the visual vocabulary that you're going to need to make things seem believable. We're going to make numerous thumbnail sketches. That's the thumbnail phase of making our images. Beyond that, tonal and color studies of original compositions. And then 3 final pieces are ultimately what comes out of the class. Those are either going to be a tight line drawing and or a tonal painting or a color painting. And the 3 sort of settings that I want to hit on in this class would be architectural setting, something that includes some man-made objects, organic setting, a place from our chosen stories that's purely natural and doesn't necessarily have any man-made stuff in it. It's a different way of looking at things where the architecture is very hard edge and geometry based, and the organic stuff is a little looser and has a lot more curves or features that feel a little bit more stylized. And then the villain setting will be more about the storytelling and problem solving aspect of it. That could be a blend of both architecture and organic, but it's going to have stuff that has to do with, again, problem solving, set dressing, attacking an environment in a way that feels characteristic around somebody in the story. So all the work will be based on a personally chosen fairy tale. I'll describe that a little bit more later. Everyone can have their own stories, or you can do something that I'll choose for my example. Like I'm going to do a demo today based on a fairy tale. It's up to you, but I want it to feel personal and something you'll have fun with ultimately for 8 weeks. So it doesn't have to be something that's already been visualized in a film, like say Cinderella. It could be something that's a little bit lesser known, and it just has to be something where there's a body of text that exists. It takes the thinking out of it. You just choose something that you think you'd be able to put a creative spin on and make an interesting architectural, organic, and villain setting illustration. Those 3 areas would come out of the story you choose. So for this week 1, we are hitting on these big ideas here. And they are what a VisDev artist does and how do they fit into the production pipeline. Secondly, what is the production pipeline? That's kind of an industry term, and it has to do with the way films or games get made. I'm going to describe it a little bit more later. Design versus lighting versus mood, and these are 3 terms I threw out earlier. They have to do with those 3 areas of illustration and what I think makes them up. How I want all of my students to be really solid in each of those areas, in the drawing, in the tonal pass, and in the color pass. With those big tools in your toolbox, you'll be able to make many kinds of images, and I'll show you lots of examples of what those would look like. We're also going to talk about the elements and the principles of design, beyond just design meaning drawing. How the elements and the principles of design, there's kind of some academic terms and things that are very fundamental to making art, how they add up to composition. And before I go too much into the details of what all those are, I would say that's sort of it's an area that's unto itself very critical in any kind of image making, beyond drawing and painting. Whether you're doing 3D or sculpting or photography, any of these sorts of art forms, they're all going to include these elements and principles and composition that would be very strong. And then the demo I'm going to do at the end is going to be where I choose a story. I gather some reference for it. I'll show you my collection. It's a small collection, and talk about how I think about gathering reference and things that are useful to me and how I want to interpret them into a stylized piece. And then I'll actually do a little thumbnail sketch of an environment. Okay, so what does a VisDev artist do, and how do they fit into the production pipeline? I'll show you some examples here of some VisDev work. This is some of my personal work from a film that I worked on. These are Photoshop paintings done for a film called Legends of Oz. And they design and develop the look and feel of feature films. This is what a vis dev artist would do. They design and develop the look and feel of feature films, animations, and other productions. They imagine and propose ideas for what the animated world should look like based on the story, characters, and action. They develop characters, backgrounds, colors, lighting, props, and more of the story. They typically work in 2D using Photoshop, but also use 3D packages. The art and entertainment industry is one of the most competitive industries out there. Most vis dev artists work on a bachelor's degree first in fine art or illustration or animation or a related field. They compete for an internship and supplemental training programs to gain professional, technical, networking, and experience. What is a production pipeline? Alright, let's go into that. I have some slides here, this little diagram I drew up about the hierarchy within the animation industry. This is based on my experience at Disney, how sort of the power structure is on a particular project. It starts up here with this leadership group at the top of the pipe. You have your directors and your producer. The director could be one person, and sometimes they're multiple people. The producer, I would say the director here, they're the creative type, and they are the ones who are driving the creative vision of the project. The producer is more of an administrator, and I think of the producer as being kind of a team builder. So they're a manager, and they're the liaison between the executives and how the project is doing with the directors. The directors only have to worry about the creative part, and the producer has to worry about the brass tacks and the bottom line of how the production is coming along, whether it's on schedule and stuff like that. So these people team up, and either on their own or through the efforts of a writer, they come up with a script, and the script is the driving force for what's going to feed everyone down here, all the artists and the creative types. Everyone's going to reference the script, so they're working off the same body of material to get their work done. And the directors are keeping that all consistent by following the script. The script can be fluid, it can change from day to day, or whatever, but everyone should be made aware of it when those changes happen, so people can get on board, and they do that through a lot of meetings and stuff, blah blah blah. So when the script comes down the pipe, it'll often go to an editor to start to composite images and sound effects and voices and stuff into a story reel, and they work very closely with the director, and that'll be the working file or the work in progress for what that film is. There's an audio department that works very closely with them. The storyboard artists usually get their hands on the script early on because there aren't any visuals yet. They need to block out the scenes for what's going to happen, what each scene, what each visual, like meaning the actions of the characters are from scene to scene. Whether there's a lot of characters, it's an exterior, an interior, what is actually happening in each scene. So before we get down into this nitty-gritty detail down here, I'll just talk about how there's storyboards. It's kind of the character actions, and then the viz dev crew up here does the high-level blue sky art for what's going to be in the film. So there's no